Moving on now to labor matters. The meeting on the ongoing negotiation on new minimum wage has been adjourned till Wednesday after the organized labor rejected the new 54,000 naira minimum wage proposal by the federal government. Tuesday's meeting came as a result of the walkout staged by members of the organized labor following the proposal of 48,000 naira as minimum wage by the federal government during last week's meeting. During that meeting, the organized private sector had also proposed 54,000 naira. The national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, insisted on 615,000 naira minimum wage, arguing that the amount was arrived at after an analysis of the current economic situation and the needs of an average Nigerian family of 6. Joining us now to discuss this is Kenneth Ikenwa, a business and social policy analyst. Kenneth, you're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much for joining. Now, what do you make of the new minimum wage offer of 54,000 naira, which is not too far from 48,000 naira, just 6,000 naira increase by the federal government?
All right, whether it's 48,000, whether it is 54,000, I don't think that we are facing the major issues when it comes to wage determination in Nigeria. I think the major way forward, first off, is for us to determine what the problem with wage determination in Nigeria is. And we should determine that problem vis-a-vis best global practices and what is evolving globally. And what do I mean by that? At this point in time in our economic history and trajectory, should we be talking about minimum wage? Should we be talking about a national minimum wage? Or should we be talking about a clean wage? Or should we be talking about a living wage? Or most importantly and most strategically, should we be talking about a solidaristic wage? So considering the economic realities on ground, whether it is 54,000 or whether it is even 60,000, the question should be this. Is this ideal if it's a minimum wage? Is this ideal if this is a clean wage? If this is ideal for a living wage? And definitely, this is not ideal as a solidaristic wage. So I think there's a problem of sincerity of purpose here. And on both parts of the organized labor and of the federal government, I think there's a great trust deficit and a great deficit of sincerity of purpose and populist intention. Does this favor the Nigerian populace? Definitely not. But as the conversation goes forward, I'm sure we can evolve new bits and bytes into the subject matter.
Well, Kenneth, I can feel your passion burn through there, but how does this current proposed figure compare to the cost of living in Nigeria? And would it be sufficient to support a decent standard living for workers? I'm playing devil's advocate when I ask that question.
Exactly. That is the exact issue here. Does this support a decent living standard in Nigeria? The answer is no. Now, wage determination is usually commensurate with inflationary situation of any economy at any given point in time. Why is that the case? This is because wage increases or wage decreases are usually demand elastic. What does that mean? If wages increase, it means the demands of citizens will definitely increase. But in the Nigerian situation, even where the wages increase, where there is this high, humongous rate of inflation that we are witnessing, which is unprecedented, perhaps in our economic history, it means that the present wage that is being proposed is not realistic, does not meet up with the basic standard of living for the average Nigerian. And I love to come back to that popular example I've given on this channel a long time ago. If the average family of 6, like you rightly did mention, and organized labor did allude to, has to feed every morning on 2 loaves of bread, even if it is 1 loaf of bread, which costs 1,500 on the average across the length and breadth of Nigeria for just 1 family loaf. Now multiply that by 30 days, and that gives you 45,000. We've not talked about transportation. We've not talked about electricity bills. We've not talked about sundry emergency bills for taking care of emergency health-related situations and other contingencies. So it is not ideal. And when you compare this vis-a-vis the food inflation rate and the major catalyst that drives transportation in Nigeria and other economic activities, which is the price of energy, be it electricity, be it petrol, be it diesel, these prices have gone up by about 200%. And if the previous minimum wage was actually 30,000, I would have expected that the government will step up its ante and consider an increment in that wage within the border of 200 or 300%. So back to your question, does this support a good, average, basic standard of living? The emphatic answer is a capital N no. It does not support. It is not solidaristic. It is not clean. It does not contribute to people living better. And it is by no way going to be satisfactory for it to qualify as a national minimum wage. Where, again, as we go further, we should clarify what the problem of definition should actually be.
So kind of going by your calculation, you're saying that if we have a 300% increase in what the former minimum wage was of 30,000 naira, then we should be looking somewhere around 90,000 or 100,000 is what you're saying. However, let's take a look at the national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajaro's suggestion of 615,000 naira. Now, in your fair opinion, how realistic is that?
Well, I think asking for 615,000 naira a month as minimum wage, I think it's a little bit pragmatic when you look at the indices and you look at the permutations and all that has gone into factoring out that figure. But for the fact that something is pragmatic, like I've said a long time ago, it doesn't mean it is realistic. We also have to look at the burden of payments, the burden of admission, the burden of dissemination of information when it comes, the burden of even asymmetric information, and market failure when it comes to the issues of wage determination. Now, 615,000 is not possible. Why is that not possible? One, it comes back to the problem of definition, and it raises the issue of innovation and creativity. What do I mean by that? We should actually be asking the question, should we have a national wage or should we have a minimum wage or wage determination that is determined according to sector, according to occupation, according to profession, according to maybe the profession of different individuals or the skills of different individuals? For instance, even if you're asking for 615,000 or you're asking for 90,000, it will mean, for instance, that if I have to employ a nanny in my house, or if I have to employ a security staff in my house or for my house, I would have to pay the minimum of 90,000, or in the best case scenario, the minimum of 615,000. We know that going by that profession, that is not solidaristic and that is not competitive. So we must put our money where our mouth is, and we must also accept the burden. But I think it throws the spotlight back to the government. If you are not able to give us an increment wage, whether it be minimum living, solidaristic, or clean, of about 200% or 300%, well, if you are all you can offer is 54,000, I think those in the executive arm, those in the legislative arm, those in other basic arms of government should also be ready to take a pay cut in their emoluments, in their salaries, in whatever they collect as public elected officials or as whatever they are. They should be able to take at least an 80 to 60% cut in their own wages. And let's see how that actually pans out.
Well, Kenneth Kenwa, thank you very much. That was very fair. Thank you indeed.
Thanks for having me on.